Hey guys, I'm Sage Valentine and I'm back here to review another episode of AMC's The Walking Dead, Season 9, Episode 5, entitled, What Comes After? So now it's the moment of truth. Let's talk about Rick's last episode. Let me know what you guys think about it by leaving me some comments in the comment section below. Personally, I'm going to miss Andrew Lincoln. I'm going to miss Rick Grimes. I never had a chance to meet Andrew Lincoln at the Walker Stalker conventions that happened in my area because for some reason they were never able to get Andrew to appear any place besides London. I think he went to Atlanta, and there was one point where, and I could be wrong, that he appeared in one of the California ones, unless I'm thinking of Glenn or something, but I do remember him appearing in Atlanta and London, but I never had a chance to meet him. I did have a chance to sit in for the different panels at New York Comic-Con, and I did sit in for the panel that happened at this year's Comic-Con. And after hearing it from his mouth that he was leaving the show, that's when everything started to truly sink in, and I was just highly upset. And I was surrounded by fans who said that they were giving up on the show because Andrew was leaving. The thing is, a lot of people recently, in the past couple years, were saying that they wished that the writers would kill off Rick and talking a whole lot of junk in the different comment sections on the different posts on Facebook. And that's one thing I think about a lot, because whenever those fans get together and they start talking, it seems like the writers are paying attention to that. So when fans got together and said that they didn't want Daryl to die, guess what? Daryl didn't die, and he's still going on, and I feel like his character will be elevated higher than it already is. There are rumors that his character is going to be the lead, but I'll see where that's going, and we will all see that by episode 6. And of course Maggie's leaving, but we'll see in what capacity she's leaving. Okay. So now that he's gone, apparently the show is looking into creating different movies that are, I guess, branching off from the TV show about Rick. And then I read an article today where they're talking about different movies or series about specific characters. One in particular was Michonne. I mean, that's all fine and dandy, but I'm still hurt that Rick is gone, and I'm just going to have to get used to it. And I know you guys are going to have to get used to it as well, but we'll just see how everything goes. And yes, I will continue to watch the show. So let's get to the review. Pretty much, Rick keeps hallucinating and imagining that he is in different places where he went in the past. But every so often, his mind has a way of talking through whomever he is near during said hallucination and telling him to wake up. I feel like that's his flight or fight response, telling him, Rick, get up, you're in danger. And every time he wakes up, he's in even more excruciating pain. And in the beginning of the episode, we see Rick, that piece of rebarb is still sticking out of his side, and he manages to free himself and make it to that white horse that he was riding in the nick of time, right before the two herds decide to merge together and become one giant pain in the ass. So we see Jadis driving Dale's RV, which was already on its last leg, because if I remember correctly, they needed a new hose or something for it, and they were talking about that before the mess with Negan. And it was pretty much on its last leg, and Jadis is driving it, and the RV is smoking and sputtering, and she is just upset because she's got to make it to a certain point to meet her contact, and we don't know who the hell that contact is. Some people online are speculating that the contact is a group from the comic book I don't know who that contact is, because the show has taken quite a few liberties and they are creating new groups, so we will see soon who that group is. Now, Rick is weak and he's riding on that horse and he's fighting to stay awake, and then we see Maggie and Diane, and they are continuing on their journey to Alexandria. Rick finds his cabin. He does his best to bind his wound. He's bleeding a lot of dark blood, meaning inside organ blood, and that bind is only doing but so much. He's hallucinating, and all of a sudden he is riding on his horse. He's riding up that road that he rode by himself in season 1, heading to downtown Atlanta, right before he met Glenn and the others when they were on the roof at the mall. And he sees Shane, and Shane is sitting in his squad car, and all of a sudden he gets in, and then they're out near that open road area where a couple minutes later Rick ends up getting shot. And Shane is talking to him, and he talks about Judith being his child, and he talks about how he was the reason why Rick became what he became at this point in the series. And a lot of people have echoed the same sentiment, and I agree with them that after he had to kill Shane, Rick became very dark, very different. He became the Rick that we know and love right now. And pretty much that conversation came across to me like a way to motivate Rick to do what he needs to get done. And all of a sudden Shane tells Rick to wake up, and sure enough, these walkers have invaded that cabin and the area, and Rick has to climb out, and he is almost caught out there, as they say. And then he manages to climb on that white horse and continue on. We see Michonne with Judith, who's making a shell bracelet, and Scott comes in to tell her that Maggie is there. Well, there's been a lot of controversy about that scene with Maggie and Negan. Especially last night on Twitter, people were having a fit. Facebook people were having a fit. Tumblr people were having a fit. I understood that scene because I saw that scene before, because it happens in the comic book. And because I recognized that scene, I knew how it was going to go, so I just sat back and I just watched it. Pretty much, the part with Michonne and Maggie doesn't happen, but I'm glad that it did happen before she made it to see Negan, because Maggie had a point when she said to Michonne, listen, if Negan had killed Rick, we wouldn't be having this conversation. You would have killed him, and she was right about that. And Michonne continues to try to reason with her, and Maggie basically tells her, listen, I don't know how to live with all of this. I don't know how to continue on. Can you tell me how to continue on? Michonne can't find a way or a word to tell her, to calm her, to be that balm that gets her through everything. So Michonne gives her the key, and Maggie goes inside to see Negan. A lot of people have been debating about whether or not somebody should kill Negan. Maggie should kill Negan. And I thought back to the part that I read in issue 174 involving this scene. And it was a very powerful scene in the comic book, and it was a very powerful scene in the TV series. The reason why I said that they should not kill Negan was because of the fact that Negan is not that same person that he was. That doesn't excuse anything that he's done, because he was acting like a complete jackass throughout seasons 7 and 8, and when we met him in season 6, because we met him in the last episode. Even in the comic book, he's just acts like a jackass. And killing him at this point, after he's locked up, after he has been alienated away from everybody else, he's no longer in control, he's no longer that Negan. He has to sit there and think about everything that he's done. I feel like that was more powerful than any bullet, any knife, anything that would be used to take him down and kill him. So when Maggie got to that point where she told him to kneel down, and he kind of said to her, do it, kill me because I want to be with my wife. That point was where Maggie knew there is no reason to even kill this dude because he's pretty much done. A lot of people didn't see it that way. I did. This is the Negan that I actually like because the bravado is gone and we get to see the real Negan. The mask is gone. There's really nobody for him to perform for anymore. So you get to see the real Negan, and those tears were genuine, and a lot of people said, well, he played Maggie. No, he didn't. That's the real Negan. Because don't forget, we saw him in episode 4 talking to Michonne, and he really just wanted somebody to sit there and just to talk to him. And there was an actress on Twitter who said, I just don't understand and get the idea of Negan being alive. He should be dead. I thought the same thing before I read the comics. And I thought the same thing while I was reading the comics at one point. I'm just like, I wonder why they haven't killed him. And then it all made sense. That's as far as I will go with that. All right. So, let's move on from that scene. Now, Michonne sees Maggie leaving, and I guess Michonne realizes Maggie did not kill Negan. But before they can say anything, Diane pops up and says there's something going on at the camp. And speaking of that camp, the one thing that annoys me is that we heard those gunshots. We never got to see what happened at that camp. Hopefully in either episode 6 or 7, the writers insert something where we can see a little bit of what happened. Because I feel kind of gypped not seeing that scene and how it played out. So Rick passes out while he's riding on the horse and he sees Herschel, and that truly, truly broke my heart. Rick apologizes to Herschel, and Herschel tells him he does not need to worry about Maggie. Maggie's strong. Baby Herschel's going to make her strong. And Rick tells him it's been hard. He's been tired. And Herschel tells him, wake up. And Rick wakes up again, but then he passes out again and ends up walking in his little, like, dream. In that hospital hallway from season 1, he opens up the doors that say, don't open dead inside, and ends up seeing this huge landscape of every single character lying dead. And he's kind of standing over their dead bodies. And that whole scene looked exactly like the cover of issue 100. Now, Sasha appears, and she tells Rick that he did his part. Everyone else gave them the strength that they needed to do what they had to do, and it never ends. We won't die. It's about all of us. You are not lost, but you need to wake up. And Rick had fallen off that horse. That's what he realizes when he wakes up and he sees the horse running away. And he apparently starts walking, and somehow he ends up back at the camp, you know, the base camp where they set that up so that everything could get done with the bridge. Now, Rick is alone with a couple walkers, and he's fighting them, he's shooting them, and then the herd starts closing in. And he leads the herd to the bridge. And basically, we see Rick being saved by Michonne and Daryl and the rest of the crew. They come running in and they fight the walkers, and everything seems too perfect. That's how I knew that that was fake. And this is pretty much the last scene that Andrew Lincoln and Denai Guerrero kind of appear in together. Rick and Michonne as a unit appear in a scene together as far as the TV series is concerned, and it was a sad scene. On a side note, I am not someone who is a shipper of Rick and Michonne, but at the same time, I'm not online bashing them or whatever, saying, oh my God, this is stupid. I just am like, okay, well, Rick found somebody who loves him. Michonne found somebody who loves her. There you go. So Rick calls Michonne his family, and also says the rest of them, I guess, are his family, and he found them, but he says this isn't real. And then we see Rick in real life leading the walkers over the bridge, thinking that the bridge will collapse. But it doesn't, under the weight of that huge herd. And then we saw a close-up that was shown in the trailer of blood dripping on his shoes. Because I kept wondering when I was watching the trailer in July, like, why is there blood dripping on his shoes? Like, what's going on? So Rick is at the other side of the bridge. He's about to give up. This walker is closing in on him when all of a sudden we hear a whoosh, and something hits it. And it's a bolt. And it was shot by Daryl and his bow and arrow. So... or his bow. And all of a sudden Michonne and the rest of them appear, and they're on like the other side. Like if the bridge was here, they're like across, and they're coming to help him. But Rick realizes that there are too many walkers, they're not going to be able to help, and he goes back towards the bridge. He starts shooting some walkers. He spies the dynamite, and he fires on it, and it blows up. And it takes out the bridge, and everybody assumes that Rick is dead. I think the worst part of that scene, besides seeing Daryl die, was seeing Michonne basically collapsing under the weight of her grief, just crying, and everybody thinks that Rick is dead, and it seemed like Rick was dead, and I said, this can't be it. He cannot be dead. Come on now. And this scene made it clear that this group will never be the same after Rick. Hell, the TV series will never be the same without Andrew Lincoln and Rick. So Jadis overhears the commotion of everything that's happening and the chatter on the walkie-talkie, and her helicopter, the damn helicopter we've been seeing for how many seasons, the helicopter that she saw last season, they are about to land, and Jadis tells him, listen, I don't have an A, but I have a B. I got to save my friend. I don't care. Even after the guy says, well, you're going to suffer the consequences, she's like, I don't even care. I got to save my friend because he saved me. So we end up hearing this song called Space Junk. And that song played in episode 1 when Rick was kind of trapped in that tank. And the first voice he heard on the walkie-talkie was Glenn's voice. And Glenn was calling him a dumbass. And that song played as the episode ended. And then that song played during this episode, or this particular scene, with Rick in the helicopter riding away. I love how we were able to see the field, and then we saw how it looked once time passed, and out of the blue popped up a new character named Magna. She's an amazing character from the comic book. I've been waiting for such a long time for her to appear, and she popped up. And she pops up with her crew, and they are battling walkers, this tiny little herd. And then all of a sudden, when it seems like they're surrounded, we hear gunshots. We hear a little girl's voice say, come here, or something to that effect. And I'm looking at this little girl, and I said, I wonder who that is. I said, that can't be Judith. And then she says her name is Judith. And I realized that apparently there was a time jump, because when we last saw Judith, she was like 3 years old or 2 years old or something. And it looks like she's either 7 or 8 now. And that group includes, or the new group is Magna, Connie, Kelly, Yumiko, and Luke. And I love that group so much. Like, I can't wait to see their interactions with other characters, particularly their interaction with Negan. You'll see what I'm talking about soon. So AMC gave us a glimpse into what's going to happen in the next 3 episodes. I guess because they fear that people are going to stop watching the show, and they want to give you a taste of what's going to happen. Well, people are still going to stop watching the show, but that little taste looked absolutely scrumptious to me, because those scenes look good. Judith apparently has a little bit of a bond with Negan like Carl did in the comic book. Michonne has a new hairdo. Carol has long hair. And Jesus has a man bun again. And we see the scene where Rosita and Eugene are running, and they slide down this hill, cover themselves with mud, and they hear these voices. in a Walker herd, those are the Whisperers. I've been calling them the Whispers, but they are the Whisperers. It's a brand new group. They're coming soon, and when they come, you thought that the Saviors were bad. The Whisperers are worse, and that's all that I will say. I'm Sage Valentine. Thank you so much for watching this review. Each and every one of these reviews will pop up the Monday after the episode airs. I hope you enjoyed this one. Leave me some comments. Let me know what you thought. Subscribe if you want to continue watching my reviews. I'll also be reviewing Big Brother Celebrity Season 2 that's coming soon. But all in all, this episode, it was okay. But I'm going to miss Rick more than you can even understand or fathom. And I'm just going to have to get used to it. That's about it, guys. I love you all. Take care, and I'll see you next Monday. Bye, guys. Love you all. Bye.